You've been a bureau agent for 6 years. Fraud cases, a few kidnappings, nothing that kept you up at night. Then your supervisor closes the door and slides a folder across the desk. 4 bodies. Same disposal method, same rough age range of victims, 3 different counties, nobody connected them until now. You are now assigned to a task force built around one goal: find whoever is doing this before they do it again. The first thing you learn is how badly the system fights against you. Each of those 4 murders was worked by a different local department. Different case numbers, different evidence rooms, different detectives who never spoke to each other. This is called linkage blindness, and it's one of the oldest, most stubborn problems in catching a serial offender. A killer moving across county lines can operate for years while investigators 2 towns over have no idea the same person is responsible. The FBI's violent crime database exists specifically to catch these patterns, but it only works if every department bothers to enter their case data into it. Many don't. So the first weeks aren't chasing a suspect. They're chasing paperwork. You spend 14-hour days cross-referencing case files, driving between precincts, asking records clerks to dig through boxes that haven't been opened in years. It's not what you imagined when you joined the bureau. There is no forensic breakthrough. There's just you, a cardboard box of file folders, and a headache. Then the 5th body turns up. Now there's a task force meeting every morning at 6 a.m. Now there's a captain from 3 different agencies in the room, each one wanting credit if this breaks and wanting someone else to blame if it doesn't. Now there's a behavioral analyst flown in from Quantico. And for the first time, you sit through an actual profile. Likely male, mid-30s to mid-40s, organized rather than chaotic, comfortable, navigating the geography of all 5 scenes. Possibly employed in a job that requires travel. It sounds precise. It sounds like a lead. What nobody in the room says out loud is that criminal profiling has a mixed track record in the research literature, useful for narrowing a pool of suspects, notoriously unreliable as a standalone tool for actually identifying one. You'll spend the next several months being reminded of that the hard way. The tip line opens. Within 48 hours, you have over 1,400 calls. A neighbor who thinks the quiet guy next door is acting strange. An ex-wife certain her ex-husband is capable of it. 3 different psychics. Every single tip has to be logged, ranked, and at least partially followed up, because the one time you skip one is the one time it mattered. You personally interview 40 people in the first month. 39 of them go nowhere. The 40th becomes your prime suspect for 6 weeks. He fits the profile almost perfectly. Same age range, works a delivery route that touches all 5 body locations. An ex-girlfriend who describes him as controlling. You get a warrant. You search his apartment. You find nothing. His alibi for the 4th murder checks out completely. You wasted 6 weeks of a task force's attention on a man who did nothing wrong. And somewhere out there, the actual killer used those 6 weeks productively. This is the part nobody tells you about hunting someone like this. For every real lead, there are 100 false ones, and you cannot tell which is which until you've already spent the time. Your relationship with your family changes without you noticing it happening. You used to call your sister every Sunday. Now you're checking case files on Sunday. Your partner asks how work is going, and you say fine, because talking about it means bringing 5 dead people into your living room. Divorce rates among detectives working major violent crime units run significantly higher than the general population, and it's not hard to understand why once you are living it. You are present in your own home the way a television is present, on and technically in the room. Then the killer starts communicating. A letter arrives at the local paper, details in it that were never released to the public, confirming it's really him. He references the task force by name. He knows you're looking. Serial offenders who reach out to media or police aren't unusual in the historical record, and the psychology behind it is fairly consistent. A need for acknowledgement, sometimes a sense of superiority, sometimes just boredom with going unnoticed. Understanding the psychology doesn't make it feel any less personal when you're the one holding the letter, knowing he wrote it, knowing you'd read it. The media coverage explodes. Now there are vans outside the field office. Now your captain is doing daily press briefings, choosing every word carefully, because saying the wrong thing risks tipping the killer off, and saying nothing risks the public thinking you're not doing your job. You get recognized at the grocery store by someone who saw you on the news for 4 seconds, standing behind a podium. It's not what you signed up for. You start attending the funerals. Nobody requires this of you, but you go anyway because these are your case numbers. And your case numbers had names and families who are now living the worst version of their lives. You memorize the victims in order. You know their birthdays. You know what the sixth victim's mother said to a reporter, and you think about it more than you think about your own mother. The sixth body comes 8 months into the investigation. By now, the task force has thinned out. Some agencies pulled their people back to other cases. Budget conversations happen above your pay grade about how much longer this stays a priority. You are angrier about this than you expect to be. Somewhere, this is still someone's entire life. And to an accountant 3 levels up, it's a line item that's been open too long. The break, when it finally comes, isn't dramatic. It's a distant cousin who uploaded their DNA to a public genealogy website years ago out of simple curiosity, looking for long-lost relatives, never imagining it would eventually be cross-referenced against crime scene evidence by an investigator building a family tree backward from a stranger's genetic code. This is now a standard tool. It has closed cases that were cold for decades. It also raises questions nobody has fully answered yet about consent and privacy for people who never imagined their DNA would end up helping catch someone they've never met. The tree points to a name. You watch him for 9 days before the arrest. You learn his routine, his job, the coffee shop he visits every morning at 7:15. He looks completely unremarkable. That's a detail that stays with you longest. Not that he seemed evil, but that he seemed like absolutely nobody. Standing in line for coffee, he looked exactly like everyone else standing in line for coffee. The arrest itself takes 4 minutes. 8 months of your life, thousands of hours, a marriage that quietly cracked down the middle, and it ends in a parking lot in under 5 minutes with him not even resisting. You expect to feel something enormous. Mostly you feel tired. In the weeks after, colleagues congratulate you. The department holds a small ceremony. Somebody mentions a commendation. None of it touches the thing that's actually sitting in your chest, which is the 6 names you now know better than most of your own relatives' names, and the fact that knowing them didn't save any of them. You go back to fraud cases for a while. It feels impossibly small after this. Eventually, another file lands on your desk. Another set of cases nobody connected yet, and you realize some part of you already knew this was coming, because now you're the agent who's done this before. Not every case ends this way. Nationally, a significant share of homicides, especially those involving strangers, are never solved at all. Somewhere in a records room right now, there's a box of files on a pattern nobody has spotted yet, sitting in a county 3 towns over from another box that's half of the same story, waiting for someone to finally put them side by side. If this video meant something to you, subscribe. There's more where this came from. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.